This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
Oil prices rose on Thursday after a U.S. court blocked most of President Donald Trump's tariffs, while the market was watching out for potential new U.S. sanctions curbing Russian crude flows and an OPEC Plus decision on hiking output in July. Brent crude futures climbed 27 cents, or 0.4%, to $65.17 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude CLC1 advanced by 26 cents, or 0.4%, to $62.10 a barrel at 10:45 GMT. A U.S. trade court on Wednesday ruled that Trump overstepped his authority by imposing across-the-board duties on imports from U.S. trading partners. The court was not asked to address some industry-specific tariffs Trump has issued on automobiles, steel and aluminium using a different statute.
OPEC Plus agreed on Wednesday to establish a mechanism for setting baselines for its 2027 oil production, while OPEC Plus sources said that separate talks on Saturday could agree a further accelerated oil output hike for July. The group, which includes the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and allies such as Russia, has been discussing new baselines, production levels from which each member makes cuts or increases, for the last few years. Baselines and quotas are controversial because some members such as the United Arab Emirates and Iraq have increased their production capacity, pressing the case for higher quotas, while others such as African members have seen declines. Angola quit the group in 2024 over a disagreement on its production target.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Asia's jet fuel exports to the U.S. West Coast are expected to hit at least a one-year high in May, according to ship tracking data and free trade sources, as refinery outages in California boosted prices and import demand. The exports for May, mostly from South Korea, are pegged at nearly 600,000 metric tons, 4.28 million barrels, according to ship tracking data from Capella and estimates from two of the sources. The exports were last at similar levels in February of last year, the Capella data showed. The main reason behind the increasing volume of imports into the USWC region is primarily associated with unexpected outages in local refineries, said consultancy Wood Mackenzie's research analyst Rodrigo Jacob.
Saudi Arabia's finance minister Mohammed al-Jadaan said the kingdom would take stock of its spending priorities in response to a significant decline in oil revenue, the Financial Times reported on Thursday. Riyadh plans to maintain its current pace of government spending despite facing widening budget and current account deficits, as well as rising debt levels, the FT said, citing an interview with the minister. Jadaan told the newspaper that he would not be concerned about the deficit widening to 3%, 4%, or, occasionally, 5% of GDP as long as government spending supported non-oil growth, a key target under the kingdom's diversification strategy. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Iron ore futures snapped a 4-day losing streak on Thursday, buoyed by upbeat market sentiment after a U.S. federal court blocked President Donald Trump's tariffs from going into effect. The most traded September iron ore contract on China's Dalian commodity exchange ended daytime trade 1.29% higher at 707 yuan, $98.31, a metric ton. A U.S. trade court on Wednesday blocked Trump's tariffs from going into effect in a sweeping ruling that the president overstepped his authority by imposing across-the-board duties on imports from nations that sell more to the U.S. than they buy.
Base metal prices gained on Thursday, lifted by market optimism after a federal court halted President Donald Trump's move to impose sweeping tariffs on imports from most of the United States trading partners. The Court of International Trade blocked most of Trump's tariffs in a broad ruling on Wednesday that found the president had overstepped his authority by imposing across-the-board duties on imports. The Trump administration minutes later filed a notice of appeal and questioned the authority of the court.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
Malaysian palm oil futures extended gains for a fifth consecutive session on Thursday, as stronger palm olein and robust export demand supported the bullish sentiment in the market. The benchmark palm oil contract for August delivery on the Bursa Malaysia Derivatives Exchange gained 34 ringgit, or 0.87%, to 3,933 ringgit, $927.59, a metric ton at the close. Crude palm oil futures traded higher on Dalian palm olein's strength, and the recent export performance is seen as supporting market sentiment in the near term, said David Ng, a proprietary trader at Kuala Lumpur-based trading firm Iceberg XSDNBHD.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.